that'll really help when you're actually out on the water and the instructor's like, we're going to go to such and such, and you're like, that's to the east of here. The weather is going to have a massive impact on everything that you're going to do during the week, so it's worthwhile knowing what's going to happen. When it's raining, you're going to do a lot of stern to manoeuvring, whereas if we're back in the UK or other parts of the world, we're going to be doing much more conventional berthing. You know, the skipper wants to be somewhere else so they can see what's going on, and a really good place to see what's going on is kind of up on the high side near the centre of the boat. I'm Stuart, RWA Yachtmaster Ocean Examiner and Instructor. I've been working within the industry for over 20 years now. But yeah, tonight's all about what is the day skipper practical, and what kind of tips can we give you before going to it, and what kind of things can you be thinking of in advance or then acting upon during your course. So it's good to start with the RWA line, and you can have a little read of that, but it's basically the day skipper course is taught on kind of small cruising vessels. You'll learn a variety of skills, and what these skills will do is they will allow you to skipper a boat in familiar waters during the hours of daylight. So while we do a lot of things within our day skipper theory, and when we go to do our practical that are more advanced, at the end of the day, that's what we're kind of saying that our kind of skippers are capable of with their day skipper practical certificate. Now, of course, some might go advanced from that, and that's great, but it just kind of gives us a guide of what we're kind of looking for. The course content, I'm not going to read all of these out. It's all available either on the RWA website or in the RWA Yachtmaster cruising syllabus. So, and it even gives you the level of detail that you'll be looking to do these in. But these are some of the things that you'll be looking at covering during your day skipper practical, a lot of which you might say, oh, we've done some of that in the day skipper theory. So it's all about then putting them into practice. What is the day skipper practical? Well, it's a residential course, 5 days for sail and 4 days for motor. You must be a minimum age of 16 to do the course. And if you are going onto the sailing course, then you must already have 5 days at sea, 4 night hours, and 100 nautical miles, which just happens to coincide with what you would expect to do on a competent crew course. And for motor, you just need 2 days on a motor cruiser, which is actually what you do in your helmsman course. So they all kind of start to link in a little bit. And of course, the main thing that you're going to need before you go is your day skipper theory. And this is kind of just touching on what I was saying earlier on, but the aim of the course is to put all the lessons that we've learned in our current day skipper theory, which we do with Ardent Training, and put them all into practice and prepare you to be ready to skipper a vessel in familiar waters by day. Ideally, that means getting ourselves in and out of a harbour, completing a short passage to another safe haven, be that an anchorage, a harbour, or a port, over a short period of time. So, you know, there is no time scale on it, but I'm always thinking about what's a typical day skipper passage. 10 to 15 nautical miles maximum, maybe taking 3 to 5 hours. You know, that's the kind of thing we're thinking of. Anything bigger, great, you can still go and do them, but that's when we start to kind of fine-tune our skills a little bit more on the kind of more advanced courses. Before you consider the practical, just a quick short section here. You're going to want to do your day skipper theory. Now, most of you are probably here this evening because you're either doing our day skipper theory or one of our other theory courses, which is how you found it, or you may be thinking about doing our day skipper theory. But yeah, Ardent Training, we offer this great online theory course. It covers everything that you're going to want to learn and more before you get out there and do the practical. And for those that have maybe not started the course or have maybe ended up along here tonight because you're part of our free trials, then on our website and on our YouTube channel, you'll find this video, which is a little short 5-minute video on the course introduction, and kind of just gives you a little bit of more info about what to expect on the course. Of course, we're going to tell you a lot more about towards the practical, but this video is kind of for the theory. Booking your practical, well, as we said, the Day Skipper practical kind of allows you to sail in familiar waters by day. So I always personally think it's a good idea that if you're thinking, I'm doing my Day Skipper because I want to go and charter a boat in the Mediterranean with my family, or then that's where you should probably go and do your practical. Doesn't mean you have to, but it's just a good suggestion, as it's going to be a lot more relevant to what you're going to go on and do after having done your Day Skipper practical. If you are thinking, I'm just going to go and sail around, the UK, and I'm going to get on other people's boats, or I'm going to go and try and start doing deliveries or something, or just want to go out sailing and advance my skills, then probably staying closer to the UK or wherever that is for you, closer to home, is probably a better place. But yeah, it's just all about thinking, have that little step back and think, what do I actually want to do further on in my sailing career? How's that going to benefit me as to where I sit my practical course? There's loads of centres around the world, and you can go onto this website here. It's Find Your RWA Centre, and you can type in your town, your country, your postcode, and you can search around to see what centres there are in that area and what courses they offer. Now, at Ardent Training, we also have some training partners, which we're trying to build on this all the time. But as you can see, we've got a bunch of courses spread out across the UK and Europe, with one also in New Zealand on the other side of the world. And yeah, these are all sailing schools that we've kind of either know the people who run them, either we have actually been there ourselves and been on their boats, we know their instructors, or we've just had really good chats with them, and both our beliefs are kind of aligned, and we're trying to kind of go the same, in the same direction. So yeah, it's worth checking this out. You can find this on our website as well. Other things you want to do is ask questions. So how many people are going to be on your course? So this is towards the training centre that you're maybe looking at. How many people are going to be on your course? Do you get your own cabin? What is included? And where will you sail or cruise to? Now, it doesn't really matter. When we ask that question, it's not a case of, oh, I really want to visit that island, although that may be your goal. What's more important is that you spend each night somewhere different, and you don't keep going back to the same harbour, or you don't spend more than one night in the same anchorage, unless, of course, the weather dictated you had to. But ideally, we want to be staying in different places each night, and not being in a marina every night as well. It's good to spend a night on anchor. It's good to spend a night on a mooring and experience all these different ways. So these are all just little questions. And yeah, for some of you as well, it's going to be really important that you maybe have your own cabin, or yeah, you know who else is on the course. So what you don't want to be doing is going to do your Day Skipper and being on the course with Yachtmasters or coastal skippers. That's just not going to work. Now, the centres shouldn't do that, but it's worthwhile just double checking. Also, I always think benefits if you've got other Day Skippers on the course. Sometimes centres will just have one Day Skipper and 3 comp crew. Now, that's great because you're maybe going to get a little bit more time on everything, but you also lose that factor of learning from other students. So it's always really nice to have other people at the same level as you, because I think you can learn a lot when they're doing things as well. What are the timings of the course, and also the time of year? The time of year is quite important, because if you decide to come up to Scotland, and there's a centre just down the water from Tobermory where Charlie is, and if you do your Day Skipper with them next month in June, and you want to go out and do your 4 night hours, well, it's pretty hard. So you're going to be out from about 11 o'clock midnight until 4 in the morning, and you probably still struggle to do your 4 night hours, which isn't, it's not a problem. You're still out there, you're still learning, overnight, but you'll be pretty tired. Whereas if you do, the course on the Mediterranean and, in the same time, then at 6, 7 o'clock at night, it's going to be dark. You're going to go out for your 4 night hours, and you'll be back in for midnight, and you might even be able to get along to the pub for a pint before it shuts as well, after your 4 night hours. So there's different things, and different people will benefit from doing it different ways, but it's always just worth thinking about that. Also, I know courses or schools down on the south coast of England, they run courses all year round, which is amazing. That's great. But if you're maybe taking your friend or your partner, and you're going to, do a course in February down in the Solent, if you get unlucky with the weather, it can be a pretty windy, bumpy, wet experience, and you don't want to be putting people off. So just worthwhile considering that. And the other thing is, day skipper course should be 5 days, so make sure you're getting your full 5 days worth. And that's kind of starting Monday morning, finishing Friday afternoon. What do we want to take with us on our day skipper course? Dressing in layers is really useful, rather than just having one really thick, waterproof, warm layer on. If you layer up gently, it kind of sorts you out. You're going to want to have some waterproofs with you. Maybe if you don't have some, you may be able to hire them from the centre. I always think a centre should be providing them. That should be just part of the safety kit, is my feeling. But there's nothing better than actually wearing your own, because they actually fit you properly. Suitable footwear generally means waterproof footwear. And depending on where you're going, you might want to take your swimming gear as well, and your hat and sunglasses. This is how to dress in layers. Just a little video hopefully popping up. So there's about 10 incarnations of me, from shorts and t-shirt and trainers and short socks till I'm full oilskins, boots, jacket and woolly hat. So yeah. When you're on your course, you're going to want to do lots of note taking, and you're going to be doing a lot of paperwork on your charts, and just general stuff to do with your navigation. So you're probably going to want to take any theory notes you've made with you. Make sure you take a notebook with you, so you can keep taking notes of all the things that you learn. Your own pencil case, plotter, divider. If I've got a student turning up with that, I'm already thinking, wow, this person, they really want to learn, and we can teach them as much as we can, basically, because they're coming looking super keen, and obviously a real desire to learn more and kind of be prepared. Post-it and sticky notes are really useful, because you can stick them into your tidal atlases or different pages of your pilot guides and stuff. So they're really good. You want to take your own logbook. By that I mean it's the RWA book. It's called G158. But yeah, that's where you can keep a record of all your sailing hours and the boats you've been on, and the miles you've done and everything. It's just nice to keep it all in one place. Any course notes you've made, so like from doing the theory course that you're on. And of course, for those that are kind of quite far through our course, you'll have maybe used some of our pro formas or heard us talk about it in the lessons. You can print them all out from our resources page. Other items you might want to take with you: head torch is pretty useful, specifically one with a red light can be nice for using it in the night hours. Battery chargers for your phones and stuff, a camera, earplugs potentially. That's always a favorite for those to take stuff with them, and of course your own personal snacky treats as well. You would hope that your course is catered. I have heard of one about a month or so ago where it was down in the Solent and their courses weren't catered, which I don't know, which I think is terrible. Yeah, I think if you're going on a course, I think it should be catered. So it's just another question to check. And I'm sure some of you have been on boats before, and you might have your favorite thing to take with you. Feel free to share it in the chat as well. But yeah, I think a lot of people's favorite are often the earplugs, just in case you have someone across the other side of the saloon from you who is a bit of a snorer. This is what I was wearing in that last picture, plus a little towel in there as well. So that all fits nice and easily into a small bag for me. Of course, you can then, take your extras as well. Dry bags are pretty useful to pack stuff in, because that means everything's then going to stay dry, especially if you start having to keep it underneath your bunk or in the back of wardrobes when you get on the boat. Suitcases are no good, so make sure you take a collapsible bag, and just like the kind of soft collapsible bags. Then they're easy to stow as well. And when you do pack originally, if you pack in lots of little small bags, lots of little small dry bags, and you can label them or know which one is which, then it's nice and easy to find the stuff that you might want. Wherever you're going to go, it's always useful, I think, to have a little bit of knowledge before you go of the area you're sailing in. But there's one called Sea Map, but it's really nice to kind of have a look at the area and see what the topography of your sailing area is like, and the things you might want to be looking out for. The other one that we can, or another one that we can use, is Google Maps, and put it onto satellite view or just normal view, just to see what the place names that you might go to and how far away are they, that you can kind of then start to orientate yourself a little bit more. And that'll really help when you're actually out on the water and the instructor's like, "Well, we're going to go to such and such," and you're like, that's to the east of here. And you have a little look, and yeah, sure enough, there it is, because you've just done that little bit of orientation. And it's also worthwhile doing a little bit of research, if you've got the time, to find out what the local meteorological patterns are. So you could maybe ask the centre if they have any info on it, or if they suggest any sites to check, or indeed just check what the weather forecast is and you lead up to the week before you go. Admin that you want to do before you go, make sure you've filled in any course forms that you've been sent by the centre that you're going to. You're going to want to take a passport picture for you, because your day skipper practical certificate needs a picture. So you want to have a passport size picture ready to go in that. Otherwise, some centres might not be able to give you the certificate, and you might be a bit of a delay in getting it. Make sure you've read the joining instructions. There might be info that you just scanned past when you first got it, so just make sure you reread the joining instructions. Make sure you've ticked everything off. It's also worthwhile, I think, seeing if you can contact the other students who are going to be on the course with you. Maybe you're going down and you're staying in a hotel or an Airbnb the night before or something. Maybe you can meet them just to say hello, and then it's not all strangers when you turn up on the boat the next morning. It's not always possible, but it's worthwhile asking. Of course, you're going to spend 5 days with them. You might not want to see them. You might just want to have a bit of chill time, and that's, of course, totally okay as well. As I said, print out the pro formas that we've been talking about. They're going to be super useful to you. And, it's stuff that we still use, after years and years of being on the water. We still go back to, using things to make our navigation as easy as possible for us, and our passage planning and our working out of the tides, etc. Download any phone apps that you might want. So that could be local meteorological sites, potentially having navionics on your phone. Ed really loves the IMRAY Tides Planner app, because he can get tides for anywhere in the UK at any time he wants. So that's a good one to have. Practice some of all your things that you've learned that you can practice. So stuff like knots, practice them before you go. You don't want to be having to relearn a knot during your day skipper when you've then got potentially a competent crew on who's absolutely nailing all the knots, and you'll be like, oh wow, this competent crew knows more about knots than me. So yeah, make sure you've got your knots dialed in. Revise your theory. It's worthwhile. Maybe you pass the exam next week, but your practical's not until October. So yeah, make sure closer to the time that you come back and revise your stuff. Our course is available to you for 12 months. So yeah, even if you started it in December, but you're just about to finish it, you still got access to that right up until December as well. So yeah, make use of it. And if you have downloaded any apps onto your phone, make sure you know how they work. I've definitely been guilty of that in the past. I've downloaded it, I've thought I'm great, I'm sorted, and then I came to try and use it, and I was just like, what is going on here? And I wasn't ready to use it when I was on the boat. So yeah, always good to be prepared for that. Weather and tides. So yeah, just I guess I touched on it before. Having a look at the forecast, what's happening, what's going to be the major weather patterns coming up for your duration of your course. What's the forecast for day one? It's really good to turn up with that. I would be turning up inshore waters forecast for your area, so that you can be like, this is what the weather's doing. Whenever anything's been talked about, you then understand why, because you understand what's happening with the weather that day. But also the outlook for the week, because that can determine where the boat's going to go and where the course classroom is going to be. What's the tides doing? So yeah, if I'm going on a course, I'll just note down what the tides are doing each day, so that I don't have to keep going back to the almanac every day to check. I've got it noted down, and yeah, I know when the tide's coming in, when it's going out, when high water, what height high water is, and what height low water is. And yeah, the one I've just shown here is just looking at the surface pressure chart. So we kind of touched on this briefly during the day skipper theory, but it's worthwhile going back, redoing that lesson, and then going on to the Met Office surface pressure chart website and getting a couple of pictures of it for the upcoming week of your course. The weather is going to have a massive impact on everything that you're going to do during the week, so it's worthwhile knowing what's going to happen. But it's also worthwhile looking at it in advance, because then when you're actually out on the water, it'll start to make more sense to you as to why that's happening. So this picture here has got a great example. If you were down on the Solent, which is in the middle of southern England there, then you're going to see the approach of the warm front. You're going to see the warm front pass. Then you're going to have a gap, and then you're going to get the cold front, and then the wind's going to pick up even more. And I can just see that just from looking at the surface pressure chart there. So yeah, worthwhile just having a quick look before you start your week. I always think when you're on the course, or on any course, this can be, it just so happens we're talking about Day Skipper Practical, the more proactive you are as a student, or the more proactive students are, the more I think they get out of it. And not just them, but then everybody starts to bond really well together, and everybody gets more out of it, and everybody starts learning from one another, and someone asks a question, and then that allows someone else to ask a question, and then we all just get more out of it. And as an instructor, I feel that I then even want to, spend my time off in the evenings answering more questions and doing more stuff with them as well, because they've just shown such a willingness to learn that I'm like, wow, this is great, let's do more of this. So yeah, get involved as much as you can, ask questions, and just show a willingness to do stuff. So just be, if it looks like the instructors maybe starting to try and do something, and you can ask them, oh, is there anything I can do? Can I help you with this? Can I hold this end for you? Whatever it may be, you're just getting involved, and then you're kind of keeping yourself active. And then the more the week goes on, the more you get to know, right, that's what to do. So the first night, you'll get shown how to put the boat to bed. And so the second night, the crew should then be able to learn. They'll all remember a little bit part of it each, so they should all then be able to work together and put the boat together themselves without the instructor kind of showing them again. So I always think at the end, if it's like, right, okay, I'm going to go and do this, you do that, and you just start getting kind of more involved in doing all the little jobs. And the same goes for the morning. After you've had breakfast, you could always just check with your instructor. Is it okay if I go and take the sail cover off? And they'll be like, oh yeah, great, wow. And off you go, sail cover off, main halyard on, and kind of just start working away. And the more you do that, the more the more time you're going to get to learn stuff from the instructor who's on board. Take notes. I've lost count of the number of notebooks I've given out to students on the weeks. or how many times I've had to give them paper out of my own notebook. So take your own notebook and take notes, because the more you write down, the more you'll remember. You don't have to write down every little thing. Sometimes you might just want to take sketches. Sometimes, like the little picture in the middle here, that's just someone's taken a picture of something that I've drawn on the whiteboard. And that just might be the quick way to just remember that lesson in the evening, to recall back as you do a kind of a little bit of revision for the next day. Or just note down each evening what you did that day, just as a very quick shorthand, because you'll do so much during the week that you'll forget it. So it's good just to remind yourself. Instructor expectations. So when we're going onto our day skipper practical, it can be quite a daunting prospect. We're going there to kind of learn how to be a skipper, and various other learnings involved with that. And so a lot of people can get, oh, am I ready? Am I ready to be at that level? Oh, like what kind of scenarios is the instructor going to set me? Like, is it a test? And that's the thing that we just want to kind of make known here, is it's not a test, it's not an exam, and you're on the course to learn. So yeah, don't get stressed out before you go. However, the instructor will have some expectations that are quite valid for the day skipper practical course, and that is that we do know the sailing and helming basics. Of course, if you're going to do the motor side, then you won't need the sailing skills, but being aware of it is very good as well. So by that we mean we can sail the various different points of sail. So we can sail close hauled, beam reach, broad reach. We know about them, we know the difference between them, and we can also steer a straight line and know how to change course and stuff like that. And of course, going into our practical, we want to know our day skipper theory, of which, as I've said already, you can come to Ardent Training, and we can do our day skipper theory online. So yeah, just to reiterate, the day skipper practical, it's not a test or an exam. The instructor's not expecting you to be the finished product of a skipper, but they will be expecting you to come with those basic skills, the suitable theory knowledge. If you're on the sail course, then basic sailing skills and basic helming skills, and of course involved with that, basic crewing skills around the boat. So all the things we've kind of done on the helmsman or competent crew course. Other students, and this is kind of touching on what I was saying about it's always good to have other students at the same level, because that means you can watch them when they're doing their exercise or activity. If you listen to their debriefs from the instructor and the ways that they might need, or the things that they did well and the things that they might want to improve on, if you listen to those, then you can learn a lot from that as well. And don't be afraid to then ask questions about their scenario, or indeed, ask the other student, how did you feel with that? Like, did you get much feedback from the wheel, or how? Because the more you ask, the more you get involved, the more you'll learn. And so sometimes I'll be doing an exercise such as man overboard or sailing onto a mooring. And the first person who does it, so I'll demonstrate it first, and then the first person who does it, they do all right, but they don't quite get there, or, small couple of errors. And we debrief it, and then we go on, and then the second person does it, and because they've listened and watched that first person, they get it a little bit better. And then the third person, closer to perfect still. And the fourth person does it perfectly, because they've learned so much through that. So you go back to the first person again, and then they can do it perfect again, because we're all taking turns, to repeat the same exercise, rather than if you just had 4 goals by yourself, you might not get to the same level. So that's the beauty of watching and learning from your other students. Other top tips: concentrate on watching the instructor and others on how to skipper. I always think that the skipper of the boat doesn't want to be on the helm. There's very few times that the skipper wants to be on the helm. That's only when you're doing like a specific maneuver, such as sailing the boat onto the mooring or the man overboard or getting the boat in and out the berth. A lot of the other times, the skipper wants to be somewhere else so they can see what's going on. And a really good place to see what's going on is kind of up on the high side near the center of the boat. And as when we last did this, as Charlie pointed out, I first of all said, that's me in the middle with the cap on and the white top and the life jacket. First of all, I says, oh, look at me, I'm in a great position. And then Charlie pointed out that the worst position anybody can be in is in the companionway hatch, which is what I'm sitting on top of there. So maybe I'm not quite in the best position there, but where I am is in a position where I can chat to the crew, I can see what's happening in the cockpit, and a quick swing of my head, and I can see all the sails and up to the front of the boat. And I've got a good 360 vision. The sails aren't blocking my view or anything. So it's finding kind of the position that works for you. Think carefully about throttle control when power handling. It's we get onto a different boat, and using the throttle control, it can be a bit stiff, a bit sticky, etc. But yeah, just be careful when you're using it, because that can, if you just be gentle with it, that can massively improve your power handling. As soon as you get more confident with that, you get more confident about, I can get this boat out by myself and go for a sail as a day skipper. Listen to all the step-by-step instructions. As instructors, we give each lesson or each task as a certain procedure to do. There's a reason we do it that way. It's because it works, and it works in most situations. So yeah, it's worthwhile listening to them. Always be aware of the wind direction. Best place to look at that is look up at the top of your mast at your Windex, and yeah, that'll allow you to kind of see what's going on with the wind, or indeed look at the water and see which way the waves are coming from. You can also then look at the water to see the strength of the wind as well. But yeah, it's just always good to know at all times where the wind's coming from, so that if you did have to do anything, you know which way you would want to turn the boat to turn towards or away from the wind. Another one is, don't be afraid to use the materials provided. So if you've taken along some notes, don't be afraid to read them. If you've got our pro formas, don't be afraid to use them. If you've got your apps on your phone, don't be afraid to use them. And you've got your chart plotter down at the chart table, the chart, the radar potentially, the VHF. Don't be afraid to use them. The more you use them with the instructor there to help you, the more confidence you're going to get in using all these provisions. Also want to just add, although we want to make the most of this as a learning opportunity, it will be an intensive week, you also want to use the opportunity to visit the places you sail to. You might be tired, but you might have gone somewhere abroad to do it, somewhere where you really wanted to travel to. So this is your time and your chance to visit that place. And yeah, so get off the boat and go for a walk, go walk around the town you've went to, go and have a look in the shop windows, walk up the hill, watch the sunset, whatever that may be. And yeah, that's what I did on this evening. We'd went out for dinner. A couple of people went back to the boat, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go for a run. Off I went and got this magical sunset. But yeah, I could have done with going back to my bed, but yeah, you might only be on that island once, so it's worthwhile taking the chance while you're there. And yeah, I touched on this right at the start of this evening, and that was more to do with the daylight hours at the different time of year. But yeah, we are going to have massive different learning opportunities between different areas. So in the Mediterranean, you're going to do a lot of stern to maneuvering. Whereas if we're back in the UK or other parts of the world, we're going to be doing much more conventional berthing. So yeah, your day skipper courses are going to be very different. Again, if we do one up in Scotland versus going down to the Canaries or the Caribbean or out in Malaysia, they're going to be very different courses just because of the areas we're sailing in, the temperatures we're dealing with, the different winds we're going to have. Yeah, just be mindful that your day skipper course might not be exactly the same as somebody else's. And for that reason, I kind of always say that if couples are going to do it, I always think it's better to do them separately, even if you're doing it in the same area, because you'll learn different things on each course, and then you can complement each other as skippers on the boat. But if you are in the Mediterranean doing a course, but you are then going to go and sail on the Solent, then ask your instructor questions about it, and then they can give you more tidal information while you're there. Or vice versa, if you're on the Solent or anywhere else and you're going to go to the Mediterranean, ask them about stern to berthing, ask them about sailing in these areas. Use that opportunity to learn. You're going to get a debrief. You're going to be told kind of all your strengths. You're going to be told your weaknesses or areas to improve on. But you're also going to be given like a suggested next step. You should also get a little chat with your instructor halfway through the week to give you a good idea of how you are progressing through the week, things that you might want to work on to achieve the goal, or if it's just a case of keep doing what you're doing. So it's making sure that you have had that chat with your instructor during the week. And then being aware of the areas where you are strong and the areas where you might need to improve on. We all have weak areas. I can definitely name some of mine. And they're the ones that we need to keep working on, and as well. You'll also be given a suggested next step. So for a lot of people, that will hopefully be going on to just get out on the water and go put your day skipper skills into practice. For others, it may be that you have to go and practice some more power handling or learn more about wind awareness or something like that. But yeah, that'll all be covered in your debrief. And it's good to just be aware of all these things. This was just a quick slide thrown in. I always think it's nice to keep some memories of your time when you're on the water. You can show people the boat you were on and the people you were with. And it's something I wish I'd done. I mean, I must have met hundreds, if you include all the day trips I've done, thousands and thousands of people out on the water. And I wish I had photos of every single trip. It would be quite nice to remember everybody by that. What's next? Go sailing, as I say, you've been told in your debrief, great, get out in the water. How are you going to do it? You could go and charter a boat. It's just about going and booking a charter, taking some friends or family with you and going sailing, putting all your skills into practice. It may be that you don't feel that you're quite ready to be out on your own. Maybe a flotilla is a good idea for you. That's where you can get the help of others around you and have an instructor nearby to help guide you day to day, but not be on your boat, so you can still learn by yourself. You may be lucky enough to have your own boat, get out sailing your own boat. You may have some friends or acquaintances, get out sailing on their boat, go down to a local club, see if you can go out on one of the cruising boats or race boats. But ideally, try and do some skippering and actually put your day skipper skills into practice, even if it's just a case of let's go and charter the boat for the weekend. There's a company that I worked for out in Greece many years ago, and at the end of the day skipper, because it was 5 days, we finished on Friday afternoon. And so long as somebody had passed, we as the instructor would get off the boat, but they were still on the boat until Sunday morning. So they had Friday night in the boat wherever we left them, and on the Saturday, they had the Saturday to sail the boat back to the home port by themselves. And we generally leave them about 8 miles or so from the home port, but it just gave them that chance to actually be on the boat by themselves while everything was fresh, to kind of really consolidate their learning and their confidence. So if you've got any companies that offer that, then definitely
very cool. I've not heard of that before. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's Sail Ionian, who I assume still do it, but I imagine that others potentially do, because you've got to go for a week's holiday in the Med because of flights. Yeah, super cool chance for those to just really pop it into practice. Then you come back to see us lovely people, and you come and do your coastal skipper and Yachtmaster theory. That takes your theory to the next level, supercharges it. You get to keep testing yourself and you get to keep learning, because although we've made it up to one level, there's still so much more to learn. You can find all about that on our website. And of course, like before, we have a course introduction video for it. So if you've not seen that one, we've got one for the coastal skipper and Yachtmaster. You'll find that on the website and on the YouTube channel as well, which is quite nice.
Okay, Charlie, when the house bears about 270 degrees.
Information to work out our distance from the lighthouse and use that.
We might be perfectly on track, but if we're not on time...
Have a look, I've got my phone here at the effects it has on our steering compass. Our echo sound is working, we can find a contour and follow it nicely into port.
Our left hand is pointing towards the centre of the low.